And now it is actually the game 1 of the best of 7 GSL finals between these two men. It's going to be the top left of Ghost River, Dark. And on the top right, it is Maru. This game has been recovered from replay. What? Okay. So there was a replay that lasted 30 seconds, and then this one also had to recover from replay. A little bit of an awkward start here for game 1 of what could be the final GSL finals, but yeah, okay, whatever. Hopefully the rest of the series is epic. Ghost River, interesting game to start with. Obviously with a 9-map pool, they still get 1 veto apiece, but I don't know what it was. They both didn't mind Ghost River. When it comes to shorter maps, kind of give the Terran a little bit more of that benefit, but honestly, with Dark being the player that he is, yeah, you don't just, automatically assume he's going to play a defensive style, do you? Especially with the series that he played versus Cure earlier today, which Maru would have been able to see. He's probably warming up during it, but he would have been able to see what his Terran brethren was failing against, which would have been cheeses, for the most part. All-ins. Cure did not play so much to the character that he was facing. He started to, but it was kind of too late by that point. So, Maru's going to go for 1x expands, but I feel like versing Dark after Dark's performance versus Cure and on a shorter map, I feel like you're going to maybe go for Banshees. Just like that feels like extra safe for me, okay? That'd make me feel more comfortable with this series. But we'll see what Maru decides to do. And if Dark would imagine that would be maybe too obvious to go right off the bat with an all-in. Maybe. SCV Scout already showing that Maru is taking the potential of Dark's aggression very seriously. He didn't showcase so many early pool builds in the last series that he played, but there was at least one. And little fight. And even though 6 lings coming across the map is not the end of the world, it still would have been annoying if Maru didn't know, because he also wouldn't know if there was an immediate Roach follow-up, which definitely isn't a great build anymore because Cyclones can come out so quickly, but it can happen. So Maru ensures that his opening is totally safe, and not only that, he uses the SCV Scout to then block out the 3rd hatchery, which is a really, really good thing to do. You should definitely be trying to do it. And he's able to do enough to kill the drone. So you have to body block the extractor trick from going down. So this has been an interruption to Dark's build. You can see that it was what would probably have been a hatchery already. Instead goes to 2 queens. So Zerg players are not unfamiliar with the situation, but it's still a disruption. Looks like Dark is going to try and disrupt Maru in turn. Now Maru has 2 Marines, but the math is supposed to be 2 lings to 1 Marine. And 4 lings to a Zealot. And 3 Marines to something like that. I don't know. Yeah, but there's micro involved. Either way, whatever particular engagement I just said right there, there's always that micro that's involved. For instance, the Reaper thought it was dealing with slow lings and said deals with fast lings, can't micro itself out of that disaster. And the 2 Marines, especially now that it's speedlings, would not actually beat them. Need the help of the wall. It's a very, very, very tiny little thing going on here. Clearly no games are ending because of it, but if you are afraid of your opponent's tendencies to be aggressive, all this time spent back at home is kind of scary. Your Reaper died, didn't get that scout. Your Hellions have been forced to look around for ling run-bys, not getting a scout. And there is a sliver of time in which a Roach attack could be happening, or alternatively, just a ling swell that could bother you, let's say. Probably won't end the game, but it could bother you. But it's not that. Dark finally getting his 3rd hatch actually completed. Lair is on the way. No Roach Warren as of yet, and I believe in his first best of 5, it was... Did a Roach Warren every single game? Yes, and it was either hidden or it was right on the front. And in this game, not happening. Interesting that Dark would not go for Roaches on this map, though, in my opinion. Because he is a Roach guy, and he has been a Roach guy today. And it is a shorter map, in which case I would feel that Roaches at least instill some fear into the Terran, because they have to worry about that 1-1 Roach all-in. I kind of just expected it, but it's absolutely not that. Fast Overlord speed coming out as well. No evolution chambers, no baneling nest. What is Dark doing? Is he gonna... No. Yes? No. Yes? No. Is he gonna queen Ling all in? Yes, he is. Oh my god. Okay, he's gonna queen Ling all in. He has done this before. Nonetheless, I am so surprised by it. Is this gonna work? 4 Hellions. That's the magic number to deal with Lings, but 6 would make me feel better. They don't deal with Banshee, or they don't deal with Queens, but... Yeah, this might still work. This actually might be totally appropriate. Wow. Overseer is going to be here, so 2 Banshees will not save the natural. Speaking of, the natural already infiltrated the Queens and the Lings, getting into it. The Queens with plenty of transfuses. Overlord's dropping creep means they can actually transfuse. I think maybe some of them were missed. Possibly the creep had not extended to the transfuses as of yet, but you can see that there is a lot of Zerg and not a lot of Terran. And the Ling Queen all in against the theoretically safe 1/1/1 Hellion Banshee opener. Pretty good, actually. Pretty good. It takes the power away from the Hellions because the Queens are big body blockers. Save the Lings. And obviously it takes all of the power away from the Banshee defense. Things can still happen. Even without Maru scouting and getting a bunker, for instance, which would have been the best possible solution, things can still happen with this. You know, you can actually almost avoid the Queens in an ideal situation. You're like, oh shit, what's happening? Oh my god, he's coming after me. You pull everything to the main base. And then the Queens can pick up and drop out again, obviously, but it's a little more difficult because they also want to spread that creep, which does have a little bit of a startup time for the transfuses. And then maybe the Hellions can also be a little more safeguarded. You would have to give up your entirety of your natural. Supply depot's gone, engineer base gone, no SCVs mining, but that would be the last second reaction that you could have gone for, that we've seen some players manage an escape with, but, you know, just having the engagement happen, it was pretty decisive. So, good build here from Dark. He is not going to stop being aggressive. He just changed how he was aggressive. Really, really good plan then. Because Maru definitely looked like he was trying to be safe, and this just undercut that entirely. Dark's cool, man. Yeah, perhaps Dark, he wanted to be aggressive on that map, but knew that roaches would be way too obvious. They're also somewhat one-dimensional. They do just attack at the front, and their job is, a lot of the time, just opening up the front. So when Banshees are hovering around them and killing them the entire time, and Hellions are safely behind the wall until it actually gets broken, and the Lings filter in, it's... If you go Ling Roach, you have... things that are directly countered by the things the Terran can get, I guess. So Banshees counter the Roaches, and Hellions counter the Lings. In a perfect scenario. Things can happen the other opposite way, and then it's a disaster. Banshees killing Lings takes forever, and Roaches don't die to Hellions. So, there's that. But the one thing that doesn't really have a direct response, even in the ideal situation, is the Queen. I mean, it's not supposed to be an attacking unit, but we know that it can be. And there's not really so much direct response to that attack that you're just like, aha! I have this one thing that kills all those things. But what usually is one of the downsides of that attack from Dark is, well, it's all in. So if it doesn't kill 40 plus SCVs and infiltrate the production, very hard to recover from. And then 2, it doesn't really get repositioned very quickly. Just, you can envision how those Queens look when they have to be soaked back up in the Overlord. The Overlords have that slow acceleration. A little bit better nowadays, I guess, with a buff, but they move themselves to the high ground. Then they start to respread creep, and that takes forever in the context of an all-in. I can't think of a specific game right now in which we saw the exact same Zerg all-in against the exact same Terran setup, but I 100% know that it exists out there between 2 professionals, and that there are games where the Terran makes a last-second defense happen. 100%. That has absolutely happened. But the best-case scenario for a Terran is scouting that this is happening and getting 1 or 2 bunkers, because then The queens can't kill bunkers, and the lings, even if they get us around, there's not a lot of staying power with the Zerg all in there. So once your initial set of lings are all gone, it's like, it fizzles very quickly. So Maru, you know, he tried to play kind of the safe option without a direct scout possible. And he got out, I want to say cunning. I want to use some type of word with cunning. He kind of got outsmarted, but it's not about an intellectual debate. It's just, that was a really smart plan from Dark against someone who was doing exactly what Maru did. That was a really smart plan there from Dark in game number 1. But Maru, even though he's like, oh, I'm not outfoxed. Thank you. Outfoxed, outwitted, both fantastic options that my brain did not come up with. Exactly. Thank you, guys. Twitch chat coming in hot. But yeah. That was very good from Dark. Gotta applaud it. But back to what I was saying, Maru, you know, he did the thing that Cure didn't do right off the bat. So Cure kind of lost 2 games just by not taking Dark's aggression seriously, kind of. It doesn't work. There was a third option that really undercut him, and he's like, okay, you got me. The thing is that the Terran also has a wide variety of builds, so you don't necessarily get an all-in as a Zerg player that works against everything, do you? Not actually. That looked really good against what Maru was specifically doing, especially because Maru had not thought about that by the looks of things, that could happen. But it just is so unlikely to happen again. So that's why Dark is tasked with doing something different every single time. So, and I think he's very knowledgeable about that because he is doing something different this time around, right? He's not going to do the same thing over and over and over again and hope that it works, even though it kind of did versus Cure. Maru is an entirely different beast. So he's going to add on a Roach-Warren. He is going to go for an all-in because this just seems to be what he does if he gets his Roach-Warren in the back. There are very obvious signs to the God-seeing observer when it comes to these Zerg builds. But obviously for the Terran, they do not have that information. They can't even see if the Roach-Warren would have been on the fronts because the Queens are supposed to be guarding against that. They're also guarding against any scouts on the drones, gases, and the actual roaches themselves, obviously. So this has so far been unscouted. Maru's Hellions have not seen the roaches heading across the map. We do have lings on the way as well. And Dark is pretty prepared for his all-in. Is Maru prepared? He kept his Banshees at home. Very safe maneuver right there. No bunkers. He saw a Roach, but thought it was defensive by the looks of things. Now the Hellions see the Roaches on the way, building Ravagers. Time to activate those Banshees. And the Banshees already getting so many shots off on the Roaches really is just so freaking good. The Hellions definitely want to come back home and defend against those Lings. And with these two forces combined together, they make a perfect defense. And you can see that Dark is acknowledging that. So he's already kind of tisking himself for making those Lings, which are not going to help very much. He's going to try and use them to threaten run-bys so that the third CC at the very least doesn't get put down easy peasy lemon squeezy. But he is in a lot of trouble. He needs to get back to droning. He needs to get back to building his hatcheries. He needs to get his upgrades. He needs to get additional technology. He needs everything, and he has nothing. Dark is very good at comebacks, though, so I'm not counting him out whatsoever. Even though Maru handled that about as easy as a Terran should in the situation that presented itself, I have the Banshees, I have the Hellions, I have the Scout. Terran should be able to defend that. I know that Maru knows that Dark is really clever and is going to make some type of comeback happen. So, as tempting as it is to say, hey, I win because I defended your all-in, that's not how it works. You still have to be careful. A bad Ling run-by for the Terran, that is, can upset the balance here. And there we go. It's a pretty damn good one. 6 SCVs go down. All the Lings are able to escape. Banshees did stall out a 4th hatch, but I think it's actually better than catching it when it just built and potentially getting a cancel, or a kill, rather. And the Lings do actually successfully escape away from the Hellions, which are about to become Hellbats, by the way. We might even have 2 Hellbats staying at the 3rd just to really not worry about Ling run-bys. Or we might see them add into the main army. Against Roach-Ravager, they're only so helpful. But we'll see. 1-1 is on the way, but also an infestation pit. Dark trying to get his recovery going. But the 4th base was part of that recovery because he's now approaching the amount of drones that need a 4th base to mine from, right? And he had his delayed, so that kind of sucks. Ling run by is ever insistent, now being a little delayed thanks to some SimCity. Banshees might go ahead and just get tasked with defending against that, rather than appearing on the front lines. Ooh, this could be a great catch. That tank going the wrong direction. Medevac's available, however. No worries, in fact. And now those Lings, well, not even really good for run-bys anymore. What does Dark have to defend? An okay army supply, but it is the typical Roach-Ravager versus Bio math. It does not really favor the Roach-Ravager player. 1-1's done for the Terran, not yet done for Dark. That one Carapace would have made a huge difference, and it is not here, still not here, still not here, still not here. He's already lost so many Roaches and Ravagers. That hatchery that he needed, gonna be a goner. Tank still set up as well. Banshees did end up coming in to help out. And now that 1-1 is done, it should be a little bit better. Nah, it's just too many units. Dark not having the correct number of units to defend, loses a crucial 4th base. And while his reinforcements do finally pop and will finally push back the Terran, he lost so many units running into the meat grinder, and particularly his Ravagers. Only down to now 1, so he can't even take down a tank. 4th TC is on the way from Maru. 2-2 upgrades with the 1 vehicle weapons as well, where Dark obviously had to pause as he desperately got up his army. So now finally back on the way to 2-2, but no real use for his hive. He can't afford Vipers. So it's like, great, you have a hive. I scanned that you have a hive. I'm actually not that concerned. I'm okay. 2-2 might finish with this next and most likely final push. Dark tries to go for an all-in. Doesn't work. Kind of simple as. Are going to go for a big drop into the main base, which Dark seemed to be wary of. Try to get as many defenses up as possible, but the spores can only do so much. Queens get taken down. That could be inject problems in the future because we're down to literally 1 queen. Literally. Dark doing a good job so far with the limited units he has, but again, deceiving. Maru had most of his army building up at home. Army supplies are not actually similar because Roach-Ravager sucks. 2-2 to 1-1. What is Roach... Really just Roach gonna do? He doesn't even have the Ravagers for the crowd control. I'm not sure about this. Maybe the rest of the army should be here too. But yep, now with the rest of the army, I don't even think he has a siege. He should, just for safety's sake, but I don't even think he has to. Hydras do pop out, and we got ourselves rather Heart of the Swarm looking Roach-Hydra battle. Tanks are demolishing the frontline Roaches though, and those Hydras are very vulnerable after the Roaches are gone. Vipers, like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Do I help? Do I... What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? It actually cannot decide what the hell it wants to do. Blinding Cloud on the tanks. That's what I was going to try and go for. Oh my gosh. I love that Viper. Way to go, Viper. You were really patient. You waited. You did the thing. He gets an abducting as well. It's my favorite Viper of all time. Maru still has plenty of units. This is a sign of a very confident Terran. When they are rallying Marines across the map against a Zerg player, they're pretty freaking confident. Because rallying can be very dangerous. In any matchup, to be clear, it is something you have to choose. You shouldn't just do automatically. But particularly in the matchup in which you are rallying to a not actually dead Zerg. That's the real difference here, is that Dark isn't actually dead. So when you rally units into him and he has a surprising number of army units, because you think he's worse off than he is, that's how you lose the initial army plus 20 army supplies worth of reinforcements. And I think Maru actually did have a moment where he was like, really? You still have so much going forward. Zerg is really good. But it is him just not having that critical mass of units to really, truly take down Dark. Somehow Dark is alive with an even better supply than his opponents, but again, it is very deceiving. He is down almost 20 workers, and although he is up 20 army supply, his army type is really not that great. Not when Maru really gets to his critical mass. So that is the good number of bio with medevacs, with 3/3 upgrades, and maybe a couple of tanks. And then Roach-Ravager just isn't as good. But so far, Dark has managed to take battles on the edge, just ever so slightly, even enough to take the battle so that Maru can't just rally and win. Because clearly Maru thought that he could. And yet, units kept pouring out from the larva. Which ended up not being a huge problem, by the way, mostly because this is a Roach-Ravager army, not Ling-based army. And we now even have Dark trying to go for a counterattack, and Maru must really be shaking his head like, what the hell? Didn't I win this game? What is going on here? Didn't I win this game? Am I losing this game? Guys, is he losing this game? Oh my god, I think that he is. Maru. Oh my god, he actually is going to lose this game. What the shit? Okay, no. This is not supposed to happen, y'all. But Dark... He's such a good comeback Zerg, man. Like, he just... And it always seems to be... Well, there's two things as why Dark is such a good comeback Zerg. One is he has really good use of investors, which never got produced in this game. So that's not the reason he won this game. But the other thing that he does really well is that he seems to always have a little bit more popping out of his eggs than other Zerg players do. This actually is going to be cleaned up, and I think Maru can recover, but this is actually a really weird game, y'all. This is now Dark overcommitting and losing reinforcements. He has more potent eggs, exactly, yeah. No, I think actually, like, this is my theory as to why it is the case, and it's not because Dark is some innovation level god macro, quite the opposite, in fact. Dark is a cool guy. He puts on sunglasses at night, okay? He's just so cool. But he's not exactly a great macro player. In the typical sense, like no mistakes, no supply blocks, no unnecessary actions, whatever else makes you a good macro player, right? I think it's actually because he usually is banking a little. And so the amount that pops up to a Terran that's like, I'm going to win, I'm going to win, I'm going to win, is almost like the surprise storm of a Protoss. You know, the Terran's like, I'm going to do it, let's just run after the guy. And then a storm gets, thrown down, and they're like, oh shit, I need to calm down a little bit. But it's like the Zerg equivalent of that, where they're like, I'm going to win. Oh my god, why do you have so many units? Okay, shoot, now I'm in trouble. Which is insane. Because it's like, Dark has not been... He's not been a different Zerg player across his entire career, I'm pretty sure. He's actually been very similar across the 10 years that he's played StarCraft 2. And it's still a surprise every single time. So his counterattack was so good. It was really quite on the money. Great killer instinct from the Zerg player. But because Maru was ahead, I am not a terrible commentator. Maru was ahead. He defends eventually. And now we go back to a relatively normal game. But Maru was about to die when he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bases up. Before he lost his third and his natural, he also had these bases. The map looked decisively Terran favored. But Maru didn't get to that critical mass, started wasting units, didn't give himself enough time to reinforce because he was throwing those units at Dark, and Dark chose a very correct counterattack opportunity, throwing himself back into this game in a position that he certainly had never had before that. Before that, he was constantly on death's door. And now, he's on 5 bases, not that impressive for a Zerg player, but it's better than nothing. And he's got a maxed out army with lurkers, Night is swarming in the main base while attacking down to the bottom left. Planetary does not hold for very long. In this game, I would say it's still Maru favored, but clearly Dark can do anything. And now he's got the infestors. Unfortunately, nothing to use with that infestor. But what are you gonna do? Ay, ay, ay. Unfortunately, that infestor, beautiful fungal, no lurkers with it. Nidus Worm finally using itself as a Nidus Canal. Reinforces and will save the base. Just lost all of his queens in the process. This attack still going on, actually. It didn't just kill that 6th base, it killed the 5th as well. And Maru has been slapped back down to his original 4 bases. 16 SCVs also went down. Maybe some army that I missed as well. This was way better than I thought it was going to be. And Maru has lost a lot of what he had in advantages, which were those extra 2 bases up and running already planetaries. He misses the ice room in the main base as well. Lurkers pop out, camp the production, which is also supply blocked anyway. And Maru, he is once again on the verge of losing this game, which I think was his for the first 12 minutes. This is crazy. Another Infestor Fungal that was really good, just had no follow-up. Maru trying to handle this to the best of his abilities, but he's lost all of his production, so a severe gap in his reinforcements. Ghosts also not able to handle this all by their lonesome, starting to get hit by those lurker spawns. All the production either killed or in disarray. Factories desperately being reproduced, and Dark is just comfortable with the army in the main. He's like, yep, this has done it. This has done the trick. No other things to worry about. And now we do have the F it, let's all in from Maru. He has no other choices. He's down 50 army supply. The Lurkers could, of course, come back to the Nidus Swarm and reinforce back at home. Need be. And I think it might be need be soon, although 9 Lurkers are being created somewhere. The Lurkers have already returned home, not to save the hatchery, but to defend overall the Zerg side of the map. And that will be good enough. Parasitic Bomb taking down the Medivacs as well. That was an abduct. And we get ourselves a Dark 2-0 lead. When he has no right to be in the lead. He has no right to be up 2-0. Come on now. He failed. Actually, legitimately failed his first all-in. He did acknowledge the failure and try to move on, but still. Then he was on death's door for a solid 2 or 3 minutes. And then he recovered, and he wins game 2. Just dark things. Good lord. In the top left of game 3, map is Oceanborn. We have Dark. And in the bottom right, it is Maru. That would be a devastating loss if he was facing Cyril. And here I go again, bringing in the Europeans, because I'm so European favored. So biased, guys. But seriously, I think, that game 1 not going super well for him, and you're like, oh shit. And then game 2, he actually starts winning, and like, okay, it's cool, guys, it's cool. S7 Maru Cyril is going to be totally fine. And then he loses that game. I'm pretty sure against Cyril, he is completely mentally broken, because we've seen that with Maru versus Cyril before. But even though that was a really tough loss, because you were ahead, and you knew you were ahead, and you even kind of had a second chance to recover a little bit, I think because it is Dark, and because Dark has done that to Maru before, because Dark is a less all-rounder of a Zerg, I feel like Maru could recover from that, but that probably did not feel very good. I was trying not to say the word perfect, because no player in StarCraft is perfect, but Cyril has pretty much everything going for him. And Dark, I would say, has almost everything going for him, too. I'd put him at like an 8 out of 10 on every single department, except a couple. Macro would actually put him a little bit less, because he does make mistakes. And I haven't seen nearly as many in this series as it was in Dallas, but still. It's not like, I would say, the best. He's not the best Zerg because he's the best macro player. He's the best Zerg because of the other things that I would give him a 10 out of 10 or an 11 out of 10 on, which are comebacks. I think he's very good at them, as seen by last game. And then he's very good at being, like, volatile. He's very lethal. He can do anything and everything. He can commit when no one else commits, or disengage and macro when no one else could. And he has an aura of strength around him. So you figure you're going to be pummeled, but it's not that he's undefeatable. You know you're going to get bruised and battered in the process of taking on Dark, but it's not a situation where you just look at him and you're like, I can't beat him. So Serral now has almost an aura of invincibility, which most players, except Dark, because he's cheeky like that, will agree on. But Dark is not quite like that. He's still terrifying to go up against. So, is he a worse player than Serral? Technically, I would say I would throw that out there and say yes, if you really wanted to have that discussion. But he's such a different player that I'm not even sure it really matters. Especially because when you pair up Dark and Serral in like a ZvZ, Dark is one of the more likely guys to defeat Serral. He was the only guy to take a map off of him in Katowice, for instance. So anyways, I think by being that different Zerg, Maru is not so concerned about being down 0-2 in a best of 7. He does open up with a 2 racks with 3 Reapers. Doesn't do too much. Didn't really seem to be wanting to do a whole lot. Maybe a slight delay on the hatchery. I don't think so, though. Yeah, now Dark also has dad power. Yeah. You gotta win for his kid. The GSL prize pool is not what it used to be. It is supplemented by the Patreon, patreon.com/GSL, in case this does continue in the next season. You guys should go support it. But winning GSL against the caliber of players that still exist in Korea prior to going to the Esports World Championship, which he will be going to, that's a good boost. That's a good morale boost. And the Esports World Championship could possibly give Dark and his family $450,000 if he wins first place, I think. I think that's what it is. So, yeah, it's pretty good. Roaches are on the way, because of course they are. We got Roaches on the way. Roach 1 is put in the back. Maru has gone for the 2 racks opener into 3cc, but he does not do the greediest version possible. He follows up with Hellions and a Banshee. Maru needs to scout this is on the way, though, to really give him the best possible defense. Can he do it? Can he get the scout? He's got 4 Hellions and 3 Reapers. You think one of these types of units would get past and see the freaking Roaches. Does he see them? I'm not sure that he did. I don't think he did. I don't think he did. I don't think he did. I would at least get a bunker and, like, Widow Mines. You know, anything. In case this guy is all-inning me. If I see the Roaches. Now he sees the Roaches. And at the very least, pull those units back behind the wall. No bunkers will be able to be completed. That Banshee, only just popping out now, can do its best at home. It's really better if the Banshee starts attacking the Ravagers before they're even on the side of the map. Stim probably going to be saved. It's about 20 seconds away. Even less, I think. Yeah, no, it's less. Sorry. 5 seconds, 3 seconds. 2 seconds and 1. Stim is okay. Dark is absolutely committing with this. Technically, Maru has not seen the Lings waiting to bust through, but he must know this is very committed. So many Raptors have been made. They're getting torn apart, however. The Banshee is not going to die to a couple of Corrosive Biles. Dark going to try and win this game here, but the high ground collection of units is the best response in this situation that Maru can muster. He pulls the SCVs through so that they don't die, and then the actual literal body of army that blocks the Lings from getting us around will be good enough. Meanwhile, the Banshee was firing away on the Ravagers, culling them down to 1, now 0, and only 4 SCVs were lost. Won't even lose the Barracks if that SCV is going to go repair. Hello, buddy, you're repairing the wrong one. Okay, Barracks will die. Ah! Okay, he fixes it. So that is what's exactly killed? The add-ons, the Hellions, 4 SCVs out of 8? Maybe it was 8 in total. I don't know where else they would have died. 10 Marines, and all for this army, which you look at the army trades, and obviously that's bad for the Zerg. Resources lost. Not good for Dark. But it's even worse. It's even worse than that. Because he also sacrificed economy and upgrades and technology to get this. He is then forced to continue sacrificing economy by building Spore Crawlers because Banshees will be a problem, because he doesn't have a lair. Fortunately, Spore Crawlers do complete rather quickly, so the Banshees will not be able to tear through an entire mineral line, but fact that 3 Banshees are out on the map when Overseers are not available means that there's a lot of space that they can cover. They can kill Queens, they can kill Creep Tumors, they could have killed an Extractor if, like, that's the only thing to have reached. Still something. They will definitely stop the 4th base from getting online, which is, I think, why Dark is not even bothering to try for it as of yet. He also might just simply say, I cannot get to a 4th base, which is completely fair. He doesn't need it as of yet either because his drone count's not that high, and it's getting worse as time goes on. 8 drones go down, leading to Dark being only at a 64 drone economy. If he plans on building as much as possible from 3 bases first and foremost, probably an appropriate economy, isn't it? He's getting all 6 gases, which means that these extra drones are just going to go for saturation. And then maybe eventually a 4th base because you bank minerals regardless. But yeah, I think he's he's doing what he has to do, which is power up on 3 bases first. That puts him on an even or even less economy than Maru, who's dropping mules as well. But the alternative is almost certain death. Trying to get to 90 drones or 80 drones in a 4th base. Maru should have had, at this point, plenty of reminders not to underestimate Dark in this position. Because that would be the only way he throws this game. Is if he says, oh, I clearly win because I defended the all-in. Let me just go ahead and la-di-da across the map. He actually might be able to la-di-da across the map and win. But a lot of the times versus Dark, that would be a death sentence. You would make a huge mistake because the fungal would come out, the tank would be killed before it gets a shot off, and the roaches would be just in enough numbers to kill the Marines. There is one fungal. It's pretty nasty. Corrosive Bile Wombo combo with it as well to an extent. It just is a little bit too late, a little bit too little. And once again, Dark might just barely hold on. Yep, Maru is going to pick up his reinforcements. My goodness. But obviously, it would have been a lot better for Dark if he had gotten that fungal, like, here. And then just bought more time while injuring the Marines. The fact that he is struggling to keep the same supply as his Terran opponent is very, very bad news for a Zerg Roach player. 2-2 is on the way for Maru. He's got a 4th base, about over halfway done. Additional barracks coming online as well. And he will consistently have an upgrade lead because Dark can't really afford +2 Carapace. So what is Dark's plan here? 4th base may be able to come online. Some drones could saturate because he is starting to lose out on minerals back in his main base. Ravager Infester is the way to make a comeback happen in this game, but Dark has already given away so many units. He needed to have had a lot better unit retention on the defense. An impossible task in his position. Always love the Shark Festers. They could come up swinging. If Dark had lost 5 less Ravagers and 5 less Roaches and 3 less Queens. Oh, the Infestor just got scanned and killed. I'd be a believer. Believe it or not. But he has lost, I think, a little too much. He can't build his Ravager count like he would if he didn't have to replace his Roaches. He has not kept all of his Infestors alive and dotted around the map. He's lost a couple pretty crucial ones. Fungals are still coming down alongside whatever Corrosive Biles he can muster. But now Maru is also aware of this and will have more pre-spreads in mind. Also out multitasking someone who is on a limited army supply and a slower army composition as well. Is a good way to win this game. And I'm thinking Maru doesn't let this one go. But I was really sure. Okay, good. Maru does not let this one go. Rallies after a disappointing second game loss, and will get a point on the board. This will not be a sweep. In the top left, the site Delta now up 2-1. He is Dark. And in the bottom right, we have Maru calmly, correctly taking down Dark after Dark's failed all-in. When you call a failed all-in, sometimes there's a little bit of nuance. Like, well, you know, he didn't commit, so, you know, it's not as bad as it could have been. No, that was a truly failed all-in. Got into the natural and proceeded to do Almost nothing else. So Maru was supposed to win that game. He was kind of supposed to win the second game. It was a little more weird, but he definitely was supposed to win game 3, and he did. And if that's the confidence boost he needed, well, then he has it. I'm not really sure that he needed a confidence boost, though. Again, I don't think he has any type of hang-up versus Dark. He just respects that Dark can punch you in the face. Let's actually check their history prior to this GSL finals. They face fairly often. It seems like Maru, Hero, and Dark face each other pretty often. Which I guess isn't surprising, because all of them play a decent amount of online cups, except Maru, but even Maru does occasionally. And they're all very, very good players and some of the best representatives of their race. I shouldn't be surprised they face against each other so often. It just, I don't know. For some people who could be, you know, the 3 best players in the world, Dark, Maru, Hero, the Koreaboos out there, the fact that they seem to always match up against each other in groups in round of 16s or round of 8s when they should be facing each other almost exclusively in semis and finals. I guess that's what's surprising. Leading up to this GSL finals, these guys have played over 50 series against each other. And it is 27-25 in favor to Maru. In terms of individual games, they're also pretty closely matched, 94-84 in Maru's favor. And Maru has had the winning record of the last couple of months as well. There's been no point in which Dark was really the more dominant one. It's just that Maru can't consistently kill the guy. Generally does, but not always. Another 2 racks opener here from Maru into a command center. It looks like these Reapers are doing a little more than... It was last game, wasn't it? Yeah, last game. They definitely denied the 3rd base. If Dark tried to send something out, he would have pulled that back. Didn't miss any drone kill. So Dark is compensating for the Reaper opener to an extent, right? Can't get his 3rd hatch up. Not going to try and force it. Gets the Queens instead. We'll eventually get that later down the road. Maru goes for 3cc. Not pure bio. We'll see if he gets any factory units. As in, like, a tank. He should get a couple of Hellions, but... You know, we saw a game of him versus... Was it Sue? I think it was Sue. Yeah, it was. Where it looked like he'd be vulnerable to an all-in, and then he got a tank pretty safely. This looks to be a swap. So swap first, tank maybe, question mark later on. This Dark is still up a game. And in a best of 7, so a couple more games to play at least. And he could... yet again, throw out an all-in. But if he is, it's not going to be for a little while. It's clearly not a super early attack. 3rd hatch on the way. More drones so far for Dark. Paying attention for that Roach-Warren. 4 Hellions might be the max that Maru goes up to. Starts up Stim. Gets a starport, might add on Banshees. It is still one of the safer ways to play, even though we saw that Ling Queen attack in the first game work out so well. And you can fit in a Banshee before Medivacs, even if you were kind of trying to get to a better, faster 2-1-1. But Beyond's 2 racks, 3cc, 2-on-1 looks like to specify his build. He almost always gets a Banshee, sometimes without cloak, sometimes with. This is actually going into 2 cloaked Banshees. And it was only 4 Hellions. Onwards to barracks. No Roach-Warren. Officially at this point, no Roach-Warren from Dark. Now, he could still be holding on to it. What will really tell us are these Evolution Chamber upgrades. Oh, and a Baneling Nest. Okay, either one. So yeah, a Baneling Nest or +1 melee would have confirmed the lack of Roach play. Because there's a couple of Zergs out there who have had successful games where they've gotten 2 Evolution Chambers, no additional technology, and then they start up +1 missile, +1 carapace, and then they build the Roach-Warren. You know, the extended time of hiding, that's your plan. maybe even just more of a perfect build order, I suppose, for that. A little more dangerous because you don't have anything to defend against early or mid-game attacks from the Terran, but it's not bad. It's not bad. Don't worry about it. They also hide the roaches, and it's pretty neat. But that's definitely not this game. We're definitely going into Ling Baneling, and then we'll see once that layer is done, whether it's Hydras or not. Maru still has no idea what his opponent is actually truly doing, and because Dark has now played 5 or 6 games, ZVTs, with roaches, you might just go ahead and default to roaches. Well, yeah, 5 or 6, because one of them was a Ling all-in. Banshee is going to find out that his evolution chamber lair on the way, 4 drones killed. It's about to see the Baneling nest, and that'll be all the information that Maru really needs for now. Ling run by gets 1 SCV before having to skedaddle, and the Hellions might stay at home from here on out. So, golden opportunity. Spore Pearl not done in the natural. 7 drones will go down. I think 1 was saved thanks to a transfuse. And the lair is finally finished. So finally an Overseer can be added on. Drones just being pumped out while they're dying to try and make up for it. Dark might be a little supply block if he's not careful, but a hatchery is about to finish. So 7 drones go down, 8 in total. Maru only losing 1 SCV so far. An almost perfect game from the Terran player as the Banshee comes in for round number 2. In the main base it goes without cloaks. The Queens have now been forced entirely out of position. Not a pretty defense versus Banshees, I gotta say. Dark, oh my god, but Dark has Lings in every single base. Okay, well. A little more tit for tat there, finally. SCVs are going down. Delay on any push out, I suppose, that could have happened. Maybe a supply depot also gets burnt down. And, well, this will be cleaned up without too much damage. It's better than nothing, because at the time, Dark was seemingly just getting slapped in the face. Slap, 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 slap. Now he's getting a little bit of return slap, and more Lings even finding a 3rd base now undefended. Same problem. Maru was forced to move his main army to the main, much as those Queens were moved to the 3rd. So the Banshees have found damage, and now the Lings have found damage. Of course, still worse for Dark because he lost them sooner, and he lost more drones. But again, better than nothing. It delayed this 2 medevac drop. It's depleted the energy of the medevacs, so now this drop looks kind of funny. Without being able to heal up Marines. And Dark has given himself a lot of breathing room as he tracks the 2 medevacs. That is the only thing that he has to worry about. So up to 5 bases he goes, 73 drones. Infestors are on the way. Hive as well. Burrow, a lovely addition. And his 2-2 upgrades are ahead of the Terrans, because Maru went for, we'll call it a middle-of-the-road build. You know, he didn't hyper-focus on the upgrades like Cure's 3cc double engineering bay build. Nor did he hyper-focus on the barracks production. He did get the Banshees, which I think they'd pay for themselves. So he is behind on those upgrades. Both players banking quite a bit, I must say. Maru not usually one to be doing that. Yeah, I basically just like... I just like wave my hand whenever Dark has a lot of money in the bank, especially because as a Zerg player, you could be waiting for Larva Pop, you could be waiting for your Ultra's Cavern to finish, something along those lines. For Terran, it's a lot more egregious to have money in the bank when you're not maxed out. You just messed up somewhere. You took your gases too late. Perhaps they were denied because the Ling run buys, right? Your barracks didn't go down fast enough. Your 4th CC should have already been completed. I mean, if you start banking minerals, it's really not incorrect to just slap down a command center, because you can't make up for bank in the way that the other races can kind of do. Not a balance complaint, it's just a design thing. 2 medevacs still flying around to the left, 2 medevacs to the front, top side. Dark, familiar with this particular phase of CVT, the drop phase, while the Terran gets ready back at home. The question is more, is the Terran getting ready for a big push out? And you need to track where they're coming in from and what creep spread is being killed with the drops? Or are they going hyper turtle mode? Which one is it, little Terran player? Beyond was showing us a lot of turtle games in the round of 8 that he played. Not as successfully as he would have hoped, but when you compare Beyond and Maru, Maru's late game turtle game is a little bit better. So I would be afraid if that's what he's going for. And he does basically seem to be going for it. I gotta say, when Beyond decided he was going to turtle, he really went turtle. He had his command centers building in all the Sim City chokes. He had missile turrets. He had sensor towers. He had a really heavy tank count, I think, much earlier than what we currently see from Maru. And I liked the appearance of it quite a bit, even though he ended up losing one of those macro games. But this, while there's a lot of command centers, yeah, the appearance of it's really not unbreakable. And actually, Maru, where the hell is your army? How did the Zerg army just come over here with nothing to contest it? Maru's army off the left side did kill a hatchery. Another medevac coming in from the main base of his opponent. But Dark, I'm going to go back and look at how freaking easy that was. That was one of the easiest breaks of a Terran player I've ever seen. Huh? Ah? Just like Dark was suddenly on Maru's side of the map, and then Maru just keeled over and died. That was a very big mistake on the part of Maru. Wow. It's kind of looking... I mean, it's game over, first of all. Planetary gets demolished. 58 SCVs have gone down. This is game over, guys. But this almost reminds me of his games versus Serral, actually, that I did a little analysis on, so I really got to look hard as to how many mistakes Maru made. And Maru was first making macro mistakes that you wouldn't really expect from him. And that did happen here. I pointed it out. He was banking 1,000 minerals at a time, which he really shouldn't. It wasn't that macro mistake, I think, that killed him. But I think it's just, it seems to be that if Maru is off his game, he is off in two major departments. He's off in the macro game, and he's off in the, like, game sense game. But that was an incredibly easy break. It's just, you know, Maru, I guess, thought that there's no way this guy would just come in and punch me in the face. That is exactly what Dark does. You think Dark's afraid of a couple of medevacs? Pshaw. So yeah, I was talking here at this point about the Sim City. Like, if this was Beyond really had a wonderful turtle transition. You know, his barracks, I think, were even being lined up, let's say, over here to add more Sim City. 2 command centers to almost fully wall off. One of the command centers up here also would have been over here to further block out the planetary from a surround. And then he also would have had, as I said, more tanks, and I think a better placing of them. And then I don't have very much more to add, except that Maru just clearly should not have moved his army to the left side, I guess. So this Overlord drop of Banelings comes in for the kill that I totally missed. But, it, you know, it's very correctly counter-microed. Okay, great. But that Overlord just saw everything. It saw the position of the army. It saw the attack over on the left side was seen, obviously. And then Dark is like, I got a medevac, I got a medevac, I got an attack. I don't care. Let's just run into you. Face first. Oh my god, as the 5th lifted, there wasn't a whole lot of SimCity there to begin with, but even less. The tanks were entirely exposed. Look at the supplies. This looks like a completely even game where the Terran is about to go full turtle mode. You're like gearing up for a super long game, and then Dark just hits at the absolute perfect time. Because I wouldn't even say it's that risky. He knows this base could be given up. And then if Maru continues to commit to a base race, he just needs to have Banelings ready. And so that's exactly what he has. So I wouldn't even say it's like a risk. He just wanted to see if there was an opening there, and it was more than an opening. It was game ending. Oh, and the Widow Mine was useless. Oh, that Overseer tanked the Widow Mines like a champ. And the Banelings hit the main base. Everything went to shit so quickly. Damn. Dark. Good at this game. So we are once again finding ourselves on a potential last map situation. In the bottom left, up 3-1, he is Dark. In the top right, we do have a Maru. Dark is, again, so cool that when you flip through the dictionary to find the definition of cool, Dark is there. If Artosis was still casting the GSL, I really would support a Nesty level appreciation of Dark. You can call him the creator of the universe if you would like. He is that cool. But he's the best player in the world at all times. No. I would say that Maru would still generally be favored against him. And so, with that said, I feel like there's two things happening right now. Okay, well, there's three things. One of the most important things I'll mention is that Maru is proxying a second barracks, so that's important. Oh my god, and Dark Scouts it. Oh my god. Wow. It's a wonderful position for the barracks, but still, knowing this is on the way is really good for Dark. But anyways, the two general things that seem to be happening right now for Maru. One, Dark is on form. He's not making a ton of macro mistakes that I can find immediately, maybe if I really dug deep. But he's also just really lethal. He is executing Maru when given any chance whatsoever. And two, I don't know if it's PTSD, of course. But I do think that Maru has maybe now what you could call an old-fashioned approach to this matchup. Which is really weird to say, because you could still call Maru the best Terran in the world, and no one would blink an eye. In fact, if you don't, people might try and find you and hunt you down. They're very, very keen on Maru being the best in the world. Fine. But after Oliveira did his little deep dive into... Oh, a Reaper got caught. Oh, God. After Oliveira did a deep dive of both his Katowice that he won, as well as the Dallas round of 4, particularly the Dallas round of 4 analysis that he did on his own games, you just kind of have to look at Maru and be like, this actually might be a thing. This actually might be a thing that Maru is behind on the times and doesn't have the best TvZ anymore. I think it was always arguable if his mid-game TvZ was better than Clem. When Clem is playing his absolute best, I think that his mid-game was a little more impressive. But Maru's general aura, experience, best of planning, early and late game, were all better than Clem's. But now, it feels like his early game's fine. He does everything that a Terran should do. He's adding in a couple of proxies, little, difference of 2 racks versus 1 racks. Okay, great. But his mid-game doesn't seem all that strong, and his late game has a potentially very serious flaw that Cyril took advantage of dramatically at Dallas. And is the Reapers get corralled here. Okay, 2 of them will escape. And that just now seems old-fashioned. Like, Oliveira broke down why his build is what he does, and he had a much better performance against Cyril than Maru did. And Maru had not just subpar play for him at Dallas, but it just in general did look like a worse build than what Oliveira did when the 4th CC was decided. If Maru wants to throw out a 3-base 8 racks, I think he could still be one of the more powerful ones with it. It certainly is a very popular build, and I could 100% see it happening on Alcyone here on Maru's last life. I would actually really prefer it. But there is something about Maru's TvZ that seems subpar compared to just a couple of months ago. And I don't think it's just that Maru is so traumatized by his Cyril games. So that's very interesting, because Maru is considered one of the best Terrans, sure, but also one of the leading Terrans. You follow what Maru does. And now that might not be the case anymore. And having really analyzed that portion of the series, to focus up on the game a little bit, Maru's 2 racks with 1 proxied, I would say was not a success. It started off really poorly. It kind of started to make up for itself with a few drone kills, but I don't know. A second barracks delay lays either the reactor or tech lab, I'm not sure which one. Maybe it's just okay overall anyway. It was a very light proxy. It obviously was not a 2 or 3 racks Marine proxy, everything on the line. So maybe it was totally fine, because behind it, and perhaps this is most important, behind it, Maru is doing all of his macro things, and I think that is way more important. Maru did not get perhaps as much as he could have gotten with the Reapers, but he has 3cc, double engineering bay, no pause for a Banshee this time around. He can immediately go into a 2 medevac drop with 16 Marines, and that feels very powerful. Dark is only ahead by 8 workers at this point, needs to keep gathering the numbers there. Spores, just in case it's a Banshee, is this time around he has insufficient information. So he's blindly countering something that is actually not on the way. And he is going into Roaches. He might go into 1-1 Roach. But if he is anticipating an 8 racks, I wonder if that is the best decision. This is a very tricky map to defend an 8 racks on. We've seen it many a times. Marines actually chewing through the Roaches here. That 1-1 already being done. Pretty powerful. 3 drones go down as well to the Reapers running in for a couple of cheeky kills. Get it, get it, get it. Oh, I won't get the last one. Oh well. They got it. They got it. The Reaper got it. He's at 7 kills right now. I think some of those are Lings, but an impressive Reaper who will live for more drone kills in the future. So anyway, if this is an 8 racks, which I don't think it is, actually. I'm going to hold... Well, oh my god, combat shields was so freaking late. Holy shit. Hello? That should have been started a long time ago. It is going to be an 8 racks. That's why I was pausing. I was like, well, no, actually, he could still decide. Hold on. There's no extra gases. Yeah, it is an 8 racks. Okay, so that's the real confirmation. Something that Dark would love to see. Hey, look at that. Overseer comes in, sees 3 additional racks. What a timing. But what I was trying to formulate is a way to discuss, the max Roaches versus the Viper option versus an 8 racks. And I couldn't really think of a way to do it succinctly. But as 4 medevacs come into the main, you either have a surplus of units and try and kind of nip this in the bud, which I think a 1-1 Roach all-in would kind of do. Oh, the Carapace was denied. That, I think, is the upgrade that Zerg would want more so than the missile. Oh, God. Anyway, you either have that surplus because you committed first and foremost to upgraded mass Roaches, or the alternative strategy that we've seen quite a few Zerg try to do and successfully get to on this map is to get to rather quick Vipers. And if you go for a safe Roach build as little as possible produced other than drones and technology, you can have Vipers out, but not ready by the push. And then if you buy more time, you can have them ready. Both options have their strengths, probably, but they both seem still very difficult to defend the 8 racks. And what's really been powerful are the Terran players kind of just blitzing. Just YOLOing onto the creep. There's not even that much creep, so I wouldn't even consider this a YOLO. There are 0 Banelings as well, which means that you can be a little more of a rush-type Terran without too many repercussions. Tanks are sieged up, and while they will get killed, I think this is a battle that will go well enough for the Terran. Actually very familiar to the Dark Cure series earlier today, if not almost exactly the same. Same map, different locations, and same situation when it comes to the first battle, which is that the army of the Terran maybe wins, actually. Hold on. Maybe not exactly the same. With Cure, his tanks got taken out before they even impacted the battle. This time around, Maru's tanks actually getting a few shots. Maybe just enough on the critical mass of units to overwhelm Dark. No. Okay. Yeah. Dark's reinforcements coming out faster than the Terrans will eventually push this back. And that was a little bit of an overextension from Maru. Losing that tank, losing additional army units, having to run away with his reinforcements. This is the type of stuff that got him into trouble in Game 2. So, not exactly like the Cure Dark game, but some similar moments to it. The difference would be here, Maru got more tank shots, but then was dislodged entirely. So good and then kind of bad. The fact that an 8-Rax has been entirely pushed away from the Zerg side of the map means that it's lost a lot of momentum. It gives time... What the fuck? What? I was going to say it gives time for the Zerg player to recover, get their ducks in a row, and perhaps even add on those Vipers should they have been waiting to do so. Hive is not even close to completed, though, so that's not this game. But Swarm Hosts? What? You don't see Swarm Hosts versus a lot of Bio games. Now, that can be because Bio can play not dedicated to an attack, right? It could play more of a multitasking style, tries to outposition the Swarm Hosts. But it's more than that. It's that they can run after Swarm Hosts. It's that when combating the Locusts themselves, the Terran army doesn't actually care all that much. I mean, it's better to avoid 14 Swarm Hosts worth of Locusts at any given time, but you theoretically could take the battle in a way that, you know, a mech army that has only tanks and the Hellions are out of position would not be able to. So, you know, Swarm Hosts are a very, 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 very questionable decision. And I understand that they're going to be helpful in this first direct fight, but then what? And look how they're not even helpful. Yeah, this is actually exactly what I imagine would happen. They didn't even look all that helpful because the Terran has 3-2. And just so much army. I mean, I think that's actually more than the upgrades. Those Locusts looked like they did nothing. What a weird decision. Because it feels entirely experimental. I don't know how often Dark has decided to respond to an 8-Rax with Swarm Hosts. And, you know, it's like, is this an experiment? I don't know. I don't know about that. He could have also been thinking, hey, this will take advantage of a increasingly resource-drained Terran. And maybe I also will not have a lot of resources, because I'll be sacrificing my 3rd and 4th. It's also where Swarm Hosts are good. Very low econ situations. But that's not even really true. Maru got a 4th base. You're still missing a 2nd factory from a truly turtle macro 4, 5, 6 base game. But he even afforded a command center. So, like, the Swarm Hosts, I'm not even sure would be able to do that harassing style of Swarm Hosts, even if they were given the opportunity to. That was a very odd decision. Very odd. Perhaps pointless, because perhaps Dark loses no matter what. But, yeah. I feel like Maru can be kind of happy with that. He also was probably just generally happy that it was Alcyone, and that he had an 8-Rax plan from the get-go. It is very powerful on this map, and of the last 10 times that I've seen it, I think it's worked 7 out of 10 times. Maybe more. It's a very good build here. So the series is not over yet, and yet again, the final map could very well be Amphion. That'd be very funny. All 3 matches today ending on Amphion. Could happen. In its opposition, it is Maru, still on his last life, and in the bottom, it is Dark, still with a game to quote-unquote give away. If the idea was to experiment with Swarm Host because you were already dying, and you had a game to experiment anyway, okay, I guess. I doubt that's really the situation. It doesn't really... I don't really doubt that Dark thought that was the best option. I know Dark can be a little funky, and if this was an open cup finals, I would be more inclined to believe that he had kind of a, you know what, this might be a good idea, let me try it. But the best of 7 finals versus Maru and GSL, you know, I think he just thought that was actually a good idea. It did not end up being a good idea. Whatever the actual plan was, to use them directly, or hoping there'd be more of a harassment phase with them, I don't know, but they definitely didn't work. But back to old standard play, methinks. Certainly the opening is very standard. Hatch, gas, pool. Maru goes for a forward single barracks with the intention of just getting the Reaper over as fast as possible. And then maybe a Marine that can scare the Overlord in a way that it can't on the high ground. Either way, the Overlord has plenty of safe places to go on Amphion. Here, 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 here. Overlord wants to make sure that it isn't, in fact, a command center. This could be 1 barracks and then 2 on the high ground. That would be a very sneaky way of doing a 3 racks, but I could see someone doing it that way, like a Gumiho. The Overlord would still see the amount of Reapers, and this would have blocked any additional Reaper. I'm actually not sure it would. Is the barracks... I think the barracks actually does block any other Reapers if they were coming from another... Okay, so maybe it's not viable. But whatever. Put that a little bit farther back. Hide 2 barracks in the main. Hope they don't scout your command center. I think you got a real game going. But it's not what's happening here. It was, in fact, a 1 Rax expand, and the Reaper gets here 5 seconds faster. Which I roll my eyes at, but is quite a lot when it in terms of early game StarCraft 2. It's not fast enough to get the body block on the extractor, but still denying that 3rd hatch. Dark pretty used to it at this point. Lings decide they can't do anything else besides go for a run by, and with 4 Lings to 1 Marine, the 4 Lings do win. Not going to be here in time to stall at the command center, though, which is really a far more ideal situation. They will be able to scout the main. Kind of a obvious build here, however, and they've already scouted the main. What the heck? I guess the Reaper was already... Wait. No. That was an SCV. Okay. The Reaper is coming back home, but the Lings are already skedaddling, so... You know, it gets the scout, it gets the SCV, and it escapes. I'd give those Lings a pat on the head. You're good, little Ziggy. I'm gonna name all my Zerglings Ziggy Zerglings. Little Ziggy Zerglings. Speed is going to finish up here for Dark, which I think is important to note, just because he's done some non-gas openers, but this was a gas opener. Roach-Warren, TBD? Question mark. Oh, supply block at 44. Dark, that's on you, buddy. Nothing else happened. Very small one. Overlord just kind of dips its head in, looks around. It's like, hey, what's up, guys? 2 racks. Okay, very cool, very cool. The timing of the racks does tell him that there is no starport, so that's very good information. Well, he knows that he does not have to build spores, and he knows that there are no attacks on the way that are really considerable. Hellions do not count. They are harassing units. So, good stuff for Dark so far, who is on the cusp of winning a GSL. I don't know how many he's won before. If someone wants to tell me without spoiling if he wins this one or not, that'd be great. We've had a lot of GSLs in the 14 years of StarCraft 2, and believe it or not, I don't remember who won all of them. 2? Thank you. Right. He could be winning his 3rd one. If that was a guess, it's probably a good guess anyway. We'll go with it. The barracks were put down before the engineering bays, just something to note. The production of units a little bit faster, the upgrades a little bit slower. There were not evolution chambers built in this game as of yet. Oh, just literally as I was talking about it. So they weren't fast, 1-1 upgrades. He hasn't won any. That's actually what I was wondering, is if Dark had won any GSLs. Because he has won a world championship, and he's gotten very deep in a lot of tournaments, and he's won other tournaments, obviously, as well. Like, he won Valencia versus Maru back in the day. But I actually didn't remember him lifting a GSL trophy. Because we have a little bit of time, I suppose, before the real action starts. 1-1 is on the way. We'll see if an infestation bit's added. We'll follow the Hellions for now. Well. So looking at it, how did I get on the Roach-Warren? Masters Winter. Second, first. How many firsts? There's too many firsts, but in things that aren't GSL. Third, fourth, first, third, fourth. Second. First. First! GSL Global StarCraft 2 League Season 2 4-1 versus Trap. So it's been a few years since he's gotten a GSL victory, is what we can say at the very least. Drops are coming here, so I'm going to pay attention. Oh, and it is going to be a 1-1 Roach all in. Okay, so let's ignore that for a second. It's still pretty awesome if Dark wins a GSL, even if he's won one before, just because, 1, he beats Maru in the process, and 2, he does it before he has to go to military. So, let's see if he wins it here. Dark has won 3. Finally, some tallies coming in, maybe, that are actually tallied. But he is looking for another one. No matter what it actually is. Nidus Worm is on the way. 1-1 Roach all in. Maru should be wary of this. Dark has actually not thrown it out to him in this series as of yet. That would be a very dangerous thing to do, to be lulled into a false sense of confidence that he will macro every single game, or either all-ins early or macros late. Like, that's not this is the middle. This is the middle. This is the mid-game all-in. 1-1 Roaches, and the Nidus Worm is not seen in the main base. Totally unknown by Maru. He sees the Roaches on the front and goes, Pshaw, that was barely even it. Oh, shit. Nidus Worm into my main, on top of a lot of my production, and Maru is just completely out of position. You have so few units against this, just quantity-wise. That's the whole thing, is that there's so many more Roaches than there is Bio, and so you're covering your ass by tanks in SimCity, of which Maru has very, very little. But then they add in the Nidus Worm for that further mobility added in, and it gets even tougher. To be fair, the choke here works against Dark, and that's not very pretty, but he might still be doing just enough because the front lines ain't going so bad for him. 3rd CC not mining, tanks deleted. And the main base actually still is not covered. More Roaches piling out here as the Queen's transfused, bought some more time. It is 1-1 versus 1-1. Maru does not have any additional upgrades on the way, so even if he tries to hold on here and tries to make a comeback, he's not in the best possible position. All of the Roach-Ravager army comes out in the main base, and that is going to be it. Dark. Whether it's 1 or 2, because Super GSL and whatnot's different, the point is, he wins another GSL, lifts the trophy in front of fans before he has to leave for military service, and perhaps will have the title of winning the last GSL that has ever happened. We're not sure yet, but it would be a nice ending, I think, for Dark. I know he's won other tournaments, and I know Zerg kind of gets eye-rolled at when they win tournaments, but in Korea, that's a difference. Korea does not have a lot of Zergs win. Maru wins everything. And Dark is able to do it right before the Esports World Championship, happening in about a month and a half, and before he has to leave for military, and after he became a dad, been taking care of a newborn baby, while still being able to keep his level high enough to defeat Maru in a best-of-7 finals for GSL. Pretty cool stuff here from Dark. I'm happy to see him 4-2 Maru. Maru definitely looking shakier and shakier across the board when it comes to this matchup. First it was Serral, now it's Dark. Who else will start to reveal Maru's weaknesses here? Or is this just a bad month for Maru? We will find out more, and I'm certain there'll be a rematch between the two when it does happen in the Esports World Cup. Both players are going, so definitely look forward to that. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I hope that GSL continues next season.